Most people imagine the economy as something that exists outside their daily lives, unfolding in stock markets, central banks, government budgets, and corporate boardrooms. Yet the reality is far less distant because the economy is quietly present in almost every decision we make. From choosing where to buy groceries to deciding whether to replace a phone, order takeout, commute by car, or spend another hour scrolling through social media. These choices often feel personal, even random, but together they reveal a hidden system of incentives that shapes behavior long before we become aware of it. Understanding this invisible layer does not require an economics degree. It simply requires learning to notice the forces that influence everyday decisions, because once you recognize those forces, many aspects of modern life begin to make much more sense. Imagine two people with identical salaries living in the same city. On paper, their financial situations appear almost identical, yet after 10 years one has built savings, invested consistently, and experiences relatively little financial stress, while the other struggles to cover unexpected expenses despite earning the same income. It is tempting to explain this difference through discipline alone, but the answer is usually more complicated. Every day presents dozens of small economic decisions that rarely feel important in isolation. Individually, they may involve only a few pounds, dollars, or euros, but collectively they shape long-term outcomes because the economy rewards repeated patterns more than isolated moments of perfection. Consider the growing convenience economy. Food arrives within minutes, subscriptions renew automatically, transportation can be booked with a single tap, and entertainment is available instantly. Each service saves time, and many genuinely improve quality of life. The hidden economic question is not whether convenience is good or bad, but rather what its cumulative cost becomes over months and years. Paying an additional £5 several times each week may seem insignificant because each decision is evaluated independently. However, the economy does not record isolated purchases. It records totals. Small recurring expenses combine in exactly the same way that small recurring investments compound, except one compounds consumption while the other compounds assets. This illustrates one of the simplest yet most overlooked mathematical principles in personal finance. Imagine spending £20 each week on conveniences that could reasonably be avoided without reducing overall happiness. Over a single week, the amount barely attracts attention. Over a year, it exceeds £1,000. Extend that pattern across 10 years, and the total exceeds £10,000 before considering what those funds might have earned if invested or used to reduce debt. The point is not that every convenience should be eliminated. Rather, it demonstrates how repeated decisions quietly reshape financial possibilities over long periods. Opportunity cost is another hidden economic force that rarely appears on receipts. Every purchase involves not only the price paid, but also the alternatives that become unavailable because those resources have been committed elsewhere. Buying a new device means those funds cannot simultaneously strengthen an emergency reserve, reduce high-interest borrowing, or contribute to future investments. Economists describe opportunity cost as the value of the best alternative that was not chosen. Although invisible, it often represents the largest cost associated with any financial decision because it reflects possibilities that never become reality. Pricing itself has also become more sophisticated than many people realize. The price displayed is often only one component of the transaction. Discounts encourage larger purchases than originally intended. Free shipping thresholds increase average order values. Subscription models reduce the psychological discomfort of spending by dividing larger costs into smaller recurring payments. Loyalty programs reward continued participation while simultaneously encouraging future purchases. None of these strategies necessarily harm consumers, but they demonstrate that pricing increasingly reflects human psychology as much as production costs. One of the most important shifts occurs when people stop viewing money as isolated transactions and begin recognizing systems instead. Income, spending, saving, borrowing, investing, and time are not separate categories operating independently. They form an interconnected network in which changes to one area eventually influence the others. Increasing income can improve long-term financial stability, but only if spending patterns remain aligned with long-term goals. Reducing unnecessary expenses matters not because frugality is inherently virtuous, but because each recurring decision changes the direction of future possibilities. The hidden economics of everyday life are rarely dramatic. They do not announce themselves with headlines or sudden revelations. Instead, they operate quietly through incentives, habits, probabilities, and repeated decisions that accumulate over months and years. Most people experience these forces without consciously noticing them because they appear ordinary. Yet ordinary decisions repeated consistently often produce extraordinary differences over long periods. The economy is not merely something that happens around us. It is something we participate in every single day, often through choices so small they barely register at the moment they are made. Learning to recognize those hidden mechanics does not guarantee any particular financial outcome, but it provides a clearer understanding of the systems influencing everyday life, allowing future decisions to be made with greater awareness rather than simple reaction.